So, PSG 1, Newcastle 1. You know what that means? Both of them miss out on the top 8. Then the defending champions will have to do it the same way, of course. They did it last year, going through the playing game before making it through to the round of 16. We know how that story went. Frank, you keep an eye on this as well. From a PSG perspective, it's got to be disappointing, isn't it?
It was, and even worrying for me. After the first 30 minutes, that was okay. Then Newcastle came back little by little, but after the second half, oh my God, they don't recognize the team. And offensively, they were nowhere near it. Newcastle, as we saw at the end, had a big chance. I think Barnes was maybe offside, so we will never know, but whatever. But many times I thought that Newcastle would win that game because Paris Saint-Germain weren't very tuned in defensively and didn't create anything offensively. And that's not the Paris Saint-Germain that we used to. We normally see, and last season they were going up. Now I think comparing to what we have seen at the beginning of the Champions League, they are going down a little bit. So there are problems with the goalkeepers, the two goalkeepers. Luis Enrique doesn't really know whether he's going to choose Sofonov or Chevalier. But at front, Dembélé had a bad game today. We didn't see him a lot, except the two chances that he had at the beginning. And even in the middle of the park, João Neves, even if he just come back from an injury, is not for sure the João Neves that Paris Saint-Germain need. And they will have to do better, as you said. You know, now we're gonna take it seriously, let's say, in February and see how PSG is gonna behave, because right now it's not the Paris Saint-Germain that I've seen last season winning the Champions League.
And it's not like Newcastle are strong away from home; they've struggled.
Yeah. So is this just PSG doing enough? They can find an extra gear when they need it?
Well, we definitely know they have an extra gear or two. Whether they will be able to find that rhythm like they did last year remains to be seen. I mean, they were just incredible. The way that they all performed last year, the back four, I'm talking about from January onwards, the back four, the midfield three, which had Fabian Ruiz in it, and then that front three, or four or five, whatever ones they use, but especially with Dembélé through the middle. If they find that form, they're the favourites.
Yeah.
But if they don't, then they are gettable. So again, the question is for Luis Enrique: is it just a matter of clicking at the right time and peaking at the right time of the season, or have they got problems this year that they didn't have last? We'll see.
Surely, with the experience of last year winning it, they should be head and shoulders, shouldn't they, above everybody else, given the quality that's there when everyone's on form.
Well, it would seem the obvious thing to think, but you know, things change. Players' form changes. You know, there's little things that can go wrong that all add up, and then you see the problems they're having. Listen, they're clearly having problems. This PSG side, the fact that they're not in the top 8 is a complete head-scratcher for most people, let's be honest. But we've seen them again tonight against Newcastle, where, yes, they were for half an hour brilliant, but then for the next hour, they would just look like a half-decent European side. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be hard to put your money on them, but I still wouldn't fancy playing against them when it comes to the big game.
What we saw from this team at the turn of the year, and they got hot. Part of getting hot was work rate. Part of getting hot was pressing the ball together. And at the front of all of that, and we would highlight it and talk about it and analyze it and say, look at Dembélé, leading the line for this team, pressing the ball, forcing turnovers, or at the very least making the play predictable so that then you could defend with a second line of pressure. That wasn't happening today. So we assume that they can turn this thing on. We assume that they got it in them because we just saw them do it last year. But attitude, work rate, sacrifice, teamwork, all the things that were very good about PSG in their run to Champions League, they were not all that clear to see today. That has to improve.
How concerned, if at all, would you be if you're Luis Enrique, Jurgen?
I wouldn't be concerned at all, to be honest. I mean, if you look back just a half a year, they played the Club World Cup. They played then, obviously they won the Champions League. You know, they had pretty much no vacation. Then they go into the season. They struggled in the beginning of the season to get their rhythm then, and then slowly they picked it up. Then, you have now this Champions League format that has a couple of more games than ever before. So I think, I mean, he knows his team the best. He sees them kind of in their, inconsistency a little bit, going up and down. But I think it's normal. Now we're in end of January. We have now Champions League games in January, which is crazy enough. And we go towards the end of the season where at that end is then the World Cup waiting for you. So I think it's normal that we see players being unbalanced, players, providing you a super good game and then maybe 2 less good games to find then I would say, the best form towards the end of the campaign, the Champions League campaigns, and also in your domestic competitions. That is the big, big challenge for Luis Enrique, for all the managers out there. So how can I have them peak in March and April? How can I do that? So right now, I wouldn't be worried too much. I mean, you move on. Obviously, you want to be in the top 8 if possible. It makes it easier, so it's one less round to play. But if you now have to go through the knockout phase, in order to then go into the further stage of the Champions League, then you take that. And I think the quality of Paris Saint-Germain is really good enough to make the next round. And then it's crunch time. Then it gets really, really, the heat comes up and it gets exciting. But as I said, you are in January at the moment, and I would take it not too seriously.